And community groups have one more day to join the National Redress scheme, or they'll be named and shamed. 2 years after the Royal Commission into institutional responses to childhood sexual abuse, organisations could lose their charity status and face further financial penalties.
Di Lynn has built a good life, but it's been a hard one. She was sexually abused as a child in the Jehovah's Witness church.
Trying to get justice has been an ongoing battle since I was a kid, and just really been amplified by the Australian Royal Commission. So the last 2 years has been very, very hard.
But it started with optimism. Di remembers the joy of finally being heard at the Royal Commission into the institutional response to child sexual abuse. She heard then that there'd be a national redress scheme to counsel, compensate and apologise to more than 60,000 survivors.
It was just not very long after that I realised they could have the choice of opting in.
Jehovah's Witnesses did not and will not join the scheme, today telling SBS, to date, fewer than 10 applicants have named the religion, and it will respond to individual claims for redress in a fair, caring and principled manner. Free legal services aiding survivors say it means no compensation for at least 500 other people who have named institutions that won't sign on.
For institutions to have not joined the scheme sends a message to them that they are not cared for, they weren't at the time, and they're certainly not cared for now.
But the Prime Minister is calling time, telling institutions opt in and pay out or lose the perks that come with charity status.
That would have a serious impact on the income levels of those organisations, because it would make people less inclined to actually make donations in the first place, because they wouldn't be getting the personal tax deductions for making them.
By June, the National Redress Scheme had already received more than 10,000 claims, a third of which are still being processed. More than 2,200 payments have been made, worth more than $184 million. A review into the National Redress Scheme starts next month and will run until September. Camille Bianchi, SBS World News.
When we make a decision, we must realistically also accept the consequences.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I've got a few things here to cover, but before I do, I want to read something, and I'm not going to show you where I'm reading it from, because I agree with this. Things which have deceived millions to their hurt, now exposed for your protection. They have not signed in vain. Those 2,630,000 honest Catholics, Protestants, Jews, and churchless people who signed the 1936 petition to the U.S. Federal Communications Commission and Radio Stations of America, they petitioned for public debate by radio on those issues vital to the salvation of mankind between a high official of the Roman Catholic hierarchy and the one whom the hierarchy accuses, Judge Rutherford. Yep. This is from the 1937 booklet, Uncovered. Now, I agree with this, and I'm just going to add in a little bit of wording and comments so that you can see the similarities and the hypocrisy. This hypocrisy just infuriated me. Uncovered, fraud exposed. An honest person desires to know the truth because falsehood works to his injury. To first gain one's confidence and then to induce that person to believe a false representation which affects his liberty, property, or life is a work of fraud upon the person deceived. The original liar and author of fraud and deception is Satan the devil. He has induced men to publicly teach falsehoods which directly affect the liberty, property, and life of the people, and thereby millions of sincere and credulous persons have been deceived, defrauded, and greatly injured. Falsehoods are veiled for the purpose of deceiving the people. The truth uncovers fraud, thereby enabling honest persons to protect themselves. Jesus Christ, the great exponent of truth, said concerning God's word as contained in the Bible, "Thy word is truth," John 17:17. He also said, "There is nothing veiled which will not be uncovered, nor secret which will not become known." For centuries, the people have been deceived and defrauded by being induced to believe falsehoods, but the time must come when the truth is made known, thereby enabling honest persons to avoid that which works to their injury. That time has now come because it is God's due time. Carefully consider the pages following with an unbiased mind, and let every question be determined by God's word, which is the truth. This is a statement that I wholeheartedly agree with. Men who deceive the public never desire their statements or teachings to be publicly discussed, for fear the truth will expose them to ridicule and contempt. I honestly believe this is why Watchtower does its darndest to shut down websites, YouTube channels, and all of us. Going on. This is page 4 for those of you who have PDF or copy of this booklet. The Roman Catholic hierarchy is composed of a body of men, the controlling power of which members resides in Italy, in which hierarchy rules over millions of sincere people whom the hierarchy designates as the Catholic population. You know, you could substitute the governing body who rules over millions of sincere people whom the governing body designates as publishers. The hierarchy vigorously opposes the use of the radio, and I'm going to add in YouTube. The governing body vigorously opposes the use of YouTube to broadcast any Bible truths that expose them and their fraudulent teachings or websites. And to prevent the people from hearing the truth, they resort to all manner of wrongful practices. Shutting down websites, trying to shut down YouTube channels, sending your little agents out to try to discourage all of us and shut us down. All over social media, trying to shut people down. The hierarchy have made public the following charge. Judge Rutherford attacks the Catholic Church, misrepresents her teachings, and foments religious hatred and bigotry. Same thing, Watchtower. What you sow, you reap. Because we could say, the governing body have made the public following charge. The apostates attack our organization, misrepresent our teachings, and foments religious hatred and bigotry towards us, and lies about us, trying to tell the world and their members that we're lying apostates who slander, commit libel against them. Here they're bashing the Roman Catholic hierarchy for trying to shut Judge Rutherford up. Watchtower, this is exactly what you're doing to all of us. You're trying to shut us up. If you had the truth, it would stand up to any scrutiny or debate. You wouldn't have to keep saying, oh, apostate lies. And if you notice, when they say that apostates are liars and tell half-truths and lies, just trying to discredit them and cause dissension, have you noticed they never say what the lies are? They never warn their members what the lies are or how to combat them. You know, the Bible even says, you know, so that you may give an answer to those asking. Well, how can you give an answer if you don't even know what apostates are saying? If you're not allowed to watch their videos, how can you say, you know, we're lying if you will not investigate it yourself? Now, for those newly out, you may not know that Raymond Franz, ex-governing body member, wrote a book. This is available, again, Amazon, Very good book, and Deborah worked really hard to get all the scans. You know, she knows somebody who has actual hard copies of the literature, and so she was able to get high-def scans of the literature and stuff that is mentioned in here. And she worked really hard on the index, trying to get the index updated. So, you know, it's a great read. I recommend it. And also, I want to mention, thank you so much, Laura, because she has sent me some articles. To date now, as of this morning, there are 17 national Australian articles just in the past week about the Redress and Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm going to read one here. This one, it says, Queensland government urges participation in national redress scheme. The Queensland government has called times up for organizations which should have signed up to the national redress scheme. Non-government institutions against whom claims of child sexual abuse have been made had until July 30th to sign up to the scheme. Minister for Child Safety, Youth and Women, Dee Farmer, said that she had made it clear from the very start of the scheme that the Queensland government would not tolerate institutions at which child sexual abuse previously occurred in Queensland failing to take responsibility. Until the institutions responsible for this abuse sign up to the National Redress Scheme, survivors cannot get the closure, acknowledgement, and recompense they need and deserve. The survivors of these institutions were abused in the most dreadful way by the very people who were supposed to look after them. For too many years, most of them have suffered in silence because talking about it caused trauma all over again, or there were simply no one to tell. And we know, we've all had personal experience of the victims and their families being told to shut up and don't tell anybody. Minister Farmer said the Queensland had a strong record of supporting survivors of historic institutional child sexual abuse whose lives had been forever damaged. That is why very early on in the life of the scheme, I contacted every organization we thought likely to be liable to let them know very clearly the Queensland government's views. While for many this was new territory, many organizations quickly took responsibility and signed up. Some were slower to meet their obligations, and I paid tribute to the officers of the Queensland government departments who have worked tirelessly with organizations to help them meet their obligations, so the lifelong struggle, disadvantage, and pain of survivors can be recognized and better understood. Because of that hard work and advocacy, there is less than a handful of Queensland organizations yet to sign up to the scheme, and some have only very recently become aware of their obligations, she said. Minister Farmer said the Queensland government understands there are some large national organizations not based in Queensland, but who nonetheless operate in Queensland, and we believe have responsibilities to Queensland survivors, have still not opted in, such as the Jehovah's Witnesses. We say to those organizations that their failure to provide closure and concrete help to survivors is not acceptable in Queensland or anywhere else. I wholeheartedly agree with that. This refusal to show moral leadership is entirely at odds with what any reasonable person would consider the values of a decent society. Organizations refusing to support abuse survivors should not expect support from the Queensland government. Amen. They should expect that ongoing refusal to participate will harm their reputation and standing in the community, and that governments will actively consider sanctions. I think they should do that worldwide. It is not too late for them to do right by survivors and join the scheme, she said. Our active engagement with these institutions will continue until they sign on the dotted line. I also think they should not give them any approvals for any plans for buildings or updating of buildings or their media center or anything. Take away those planning and zoning approvals, building permits. At least that's what we call them in this country. Take away their building permits until they sign on the dotted line. If they can afford to build a $10 million media center, they can afford to join the redress scheme. Yeah, Kimmy's riled this morning. The deadline for these organizations to complete the administrative processes to get on board has been extended by 6 months. I wouldn't even give them that long. Alright, now I happen to be looking to see what new videos and stuff they had on jw.org. I know, that's just torture. And I found a new article they've done for young people ask, should I drop out of school? This caught my eye, and it's like, oh my God, really, Watchtower? Really? Now, for those of you who are new to this channel, I'm going to say that prior to 1975, when Armageddon was coming, I was a child, preteen. I quit school because the end was coming. Any minute. Any minute. And I was told, and they even said this from the platform at our Kingdom Hall, why would you want to, continue in a world that is going out of business, that is going to end? Why get a education? And they've always harped on getting a higher education, but even prior to 1975, I was not even going to make it to high school. I was told by my parents and the elders on the platform that I would not even be going to high school. They were telling kids that. So why put all of the time and energy into this system that is going down the drain? Mike and I both quit school. Started going out in service more. I couldn't pioneer because I wasn't baptized, so I couldn't sign the form. But you know what? I was putting the time in. My best friend and I, she was baptized, so she was pioneering, and I was her pioneer partner. And we were going out. We would get territory by ourselves. Teenage, I was pre-teen, she was a teenager. Going out by ourselves, we would check out the territory and go out door to door by ourselves. Wow. So this is why this subject is close to my heart, and this is why I encouraged my daughter not only to finish school, but to continue her education. And I'm so proud of her because she has several associate's degree and a bachelor's degree. She can take care of herself. She can support herself. So all the young people ask, should I drop out of school? I hate school. If that's how you feel, you might be tempted to drop out. This article will give you some better options. Why some drop out. Common reasons noted by educators include academic struggles, apathy, and economic hardship. Why don't you add in there a religion that is telling you, why bother? You're not even going to make it to high school because Armageddon's coming. Why don't you add that in, our Watchtower? Count the cost. The Bible says the shrewd one ponders each step. Proverbs 14:15. The lesson, if you're considering dropping out of school, be sure to count the cost. I wish I would have been told that back in the late 60s, early 70s. Count the cost. What if Armageddon doesn't come? I wish someone would have told me that. Ask yourself, how will dropping out affect future job opportunities? Back then, you weren't going to have the opportunity to have a job opportunity because Armageddon was coming. And it makes me wonder, why are they pushing now in education? Is this because of Ralph Furley's book? Bashing them about the higher education and their members not being educated? Think about having to get a job and then possibly providing for a family one day. How can you do that if most employers require at least a high school diploma? Oh, well, you need to find part-time work to support yourself so that you can do more in the field ministry. That's what we were always told. That's why most of us became janitors. So you can do part-time work and still put more into preaching for Jehovah. Oh, this kind of stuff just chaps my hide. How will dropping out affect my ability to deal with hardship? School prepares you for life. I can't believe they're even quoting that. This is Daniel says this. In the future, the people you meet, the temptations you encounter, and the work you do will be similar to what you faced in school. Really? Aunt Mo just gave a talk a couple of years ago on JW Broadcast.
Some have felt that spending time with non-believers in a university setting is no different than working secularly with those who do not share our beliefs. And in fact, bad associations in the workplace can be a real danger. However, it is one thing to work on a job with others and quite another matter to immerse oneself in an institution of learning. In Romans 12:2, Paul said to stop being molded by this system of things, but be transformed by making your mind over. We are to be careful that this system does not mold or shape our thinking. The verse said to make over your minds, not hand over your minds. Higher learning can easily influence thinking and attitudes. The most intelligent and eloquent professors will be trying to reshape the thinking of your child, and their influence can be tremendous.
How the professors in school are influencing your children, indoctrinating them with Satan's world. Well, wouldn't the same apply to regular school? High school? How will dropping out affect my life skills? School may seem impractical now, but when you're 23 years old and balancing your checkbook, you're going to think, I'm glad I paid attention in math. Wow. Wow. And I'm sure many of you who were in the organization, Jehovah's Witness for any length of time, you know that this is a flip-flop of what they've been preaching all along. So many of my friends that I grew up with who were in the congregation when I was a kid, all of them quit school. All of them got, part-time jobs or, low-paying jobs, one where you didn't need a high school diploma. I was so happy when in 1999 I said, you know what? I don't care anymore. I went and got my GED. I got my high school diploma. And I was so proud. Even as a JW, I was proud and so mad at myself for quitting school all those years ago. And I was even mad, and asked my mom, why did you let me quit school? And she says, well, you were having so many problems and, we thought the end was coming. Unbelievable. Then they say, if you're having trouble in school, ask the teachers, get help. Talk to your teacher if you're struggling. Look at the big picture. The Bible says, better is the end of a matter than its beginning. Ecclesiastes 7:8. When you finish school, you will have acquired qualities and skills that go beyond the subjects you were taught. So why is Watchtower so down on a higher education college when they teach you the same thing? Oh, because they teach you critical thinking. And then you realize that this organization are defrauding you, lying to you. Rutherford was right. Truth will stand up to scrutiny. And for Watchtower to try to be shutting all of us down, shut our voices down, and you see it all over social media, YouTube, how many are speaking out and talking about things that are going on. that they're being shut down. Look at how many have been trying to shut us down, doing videos against us, bashing us, attacking us, because they don't want to hear this. They don't want to hear any of this. Well, then why are you watching videos? Stay off of YouTube like your governing body tells you to. Which brings me to some Zemos who have been hearing talks and stuff on the Zoom meetings. And most of them are saying, oh my goodness, the control is just amazing. And how now get this, Circuit Overseer is giving a talk. And right in the middle of his talk, he stops and criticizes those Jehovah's Witnesses who do not have their cameras on. Why don't you have your cameras on? I'll tell you why they don't have their cameras on. Because they're still in their pajamas. They're not going to get dressed up for meetings. That's why their cameras aren't on. Plus, you've got Zemos and probably even some XJWs in those Zoom meetings. They don't want you to know who they are. Anonymous names and stuff. But it was interesting because I'm hearing that this past weekend, the talk on Sunday. Now the meeting that our friend, thank you Jonathan, told us about, he's sitting there listening. 3 times during a 30-minute talk, the brother was stressing Satan's world is after us. And we're right on the brink of Armageddon. But Satan's world is after us. So just pushing that fear. Now, also one thing I do want to mention, I've had several emails from some of you who never were Jehovah's Witnesses. I even had one from a Mormon. And some who have sent messages through our website, I haven't been able to reply back to you because it gets bounced back to me because it says this email is no longer available. But I just want to say it doesn't matter what religion you are, and if you never were JW, don't feel bad about contacting us. Because the mechanism, the control mechanism, the propaganda, it's all the same, no matter what religion you were in. So to the Mormon person, it's okay. My email is kimmyMbrooks@gmail.com. And I understand that indoctrination. I understand that propaganda. I understand the lies you have been told. So many waking up right now. And many of you JWs who are starting to watch these videos, thank you. Thank you. And I'm trying to get through as many emails as I can. But yes, it's very traumatic. Our whole belief system is pulled out from under us. And we all have a right to be angry. And it's very difficult sometimes not to be so angry. But we try to come across as, positive. Hope. Hope. We're free. We don't have to live under that fear anymore. And it is very difficult because you don't know what to believe. And you know what? We all have a brain. Mike was watching a video from a newly out JW. And he was saying he doesn't know what to believe now. And he doesn't understand the Bible and all of this. And he was asking for help. Well, be careful. Because there's a lot of ministers. I call some of them are Bible bullies. They're right there waiting, saying, I have the truth. I have it figured out. Be careful. You can study this book on its own. You can read it. Figure it out. Plain English. You don't need anybody to teach it to you. So, anyway, now before I go, I want to tell a story real quick of what happened to us over the weekend. I was so angry. We had to take a load of stuff up to our kids because we have a truck, and so plus we just wanted to spend the day. It was 4th of July, Independence Day here in the United States, and so we were celebrating our freedom. Plus we always like an excuse to spend the day with our kids. Now our kids live next door to some Jehovah's Witnesses. And yes, we know for sure they are in good standing because the mom and daughter are pioneers. And the husband, he was disfellowshipped for a while. They don't know why, but he was talking to them when he was disfellowshipped. And he even mentioned he was kind of lonely because he didn't have anyone else to talk to. But they know he got reinstated because then they started having get-togethers at their house, and he would be dressed going to meetings with them. Whereas before he would stay home while they went to the meetings and service and stuff. But now he's getting dressed up and going with them. But it was funny because the kids told us that Friday night, that they had a congregation get-together at their house. There was tons of Jehovah's Witnesses. And we know it's not just family getting together. No, there was a huge amount. She said it looked like the entire congregation showed up. Now this is at a time when the elders' letters to elders are saying, not to have large gatherings, stick with your Zoom little chat rooms and stuff. Don't get together and have congregation gatherings. So Watchtower, governing body, some Jehovah's Witnesses in Rio Rancho, on 10th Street, in the Spanish congregation, just had a huge congregation get together on 4th of July weekend. I find that funny. I really do. That's funny. Now back to what made me angry is on our way home we stopped to get some gas. Now here the gas pumps, petrol, like what you would call in some countries, you do everything outside. You don't even have to go inside. You use your debit card, and there's a terminal on each one of the pumps, and you just do that, get your gas, and go. When we got there, all of the card terminals on every single pump had a sign that said pay inside. Now we were in Mike's truck. We didn't have any mask with us, and I haven't been wearing one anyway because I think I already had COVID back in January. So I go in, and there is a sign on the door that says masks are required. I just want to hurry and give them $20 to get some gas. So I go in, I wait in line, which took several minutes, and they've got these big, huge acrylic shields between you and the person at the register. So I said, here, I just want $20 of gas on, the pump out there. And she says, do you have a mask? And I said, no, I left it at home, which is 70 miles away. I just want to get gas real quick. Here, just, and I'll get out of here. She says, well, you need a mask. And I said, just to give you $20, to turn on the pump? And so she calls the manager over and says she doesn't have a mask. And the manager looks at me and says, well, we have them for sale for $5. And I said, I just want to give you the $20 and I'll get out of here. She says, no mask, no service. And I said, are you telling me that you cannot take my money for gas and are refusing me service because I'm not wearing a mask, even though there's a shield here? And she says, yeah, that's our new rule. Unbelievable. The control and the rules. So as I'm walking out the door, there's another guy walking in without a mask. And I said, don't even try it, because if you're not wearing a mask, they're not going to wait on you. And he's like, really? I says, yeah, really. So I told Mike, and he's like, we're not going to give them our business. So we went down the road half a mile to Circle K, which is a little mini mart here in this country, and they had their outside terminals turned on, and so we didn't even have to go inside. Did our debit card, got our gas, and left. But that shows you, this one store, they could not turn on their card terminals outside so that you could stay strictly outside. No, they're forcing you to go inside, and if you do not have a mask on, you can buy one of ours for $5. Oh my God, really? And for those of us who are awake, it's like, what an unbelievable gimmick, scam. $5 for a mask? So I just ordered a mask, and it says this mask is as useless as our governor, because these are the stupid rules they're putting into place. Every doctor will tell you a mask will not prevent you from breathing in the COVID virus. If it's in the air, a mask is not going to prevent you from doing that. So, to force people to do this, and for those of us who have lung problems anyway, I can't breathe in one. I start getting dizzy and I don't get enough oxygen. I've almost passed out a few times. So now I wear my mask down here. And if anybody says anything, it's like, I have a health problem, and because of the Federal Disabilities Act, I don't have to tell you what it is, but I can't get enough oxygen. But this is how crazy this is getting. Just unbelievable what some of these governors in this country are making people do. It really is. And I don't know what's going to happen, but it's just getting crazy. It's crazier all the time. So thank you everybody so much for watching, and hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.